Hi, everyone. Welcome to ElCo Chats. My name is Julieta. ElCo Chats is a regular podcast where we feature El Camino College students, graduate staff, faculty, managers, and we talk about all things El Camino College. For today's podcast, I get to chat with Brenda. Welcome.
Hi.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So we want to get to know a little bit about who you are and hear about your journey as a college student. So we'll start with the very beginning. Tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and your role here at the college.
Well, I'm Brenda, and I have the pleasure of serving as the president superintendent here at El Camino College. I am a mother, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I'm an African-American woman. I'm a first-generation college student. I'm a wife. I am one that does not do work-life balance very well. I collect Winnie the Pooh items. Pooh is my favorite character. I like to read. When I get a chance, I like to binge watch murder mysteries. That's fun. I like Columbo. That's one of my favorite shows. And I can watch them over and over again, even though I know how it's going to end. Mm-hmm. I just like, the Peter Falk and his character. What else do you want to know?
We're going to get to know a little bit more about you, but that's a great start.
Okay.
So thank you. And I think it's amazing that you shared all those little details that are actually really big, and that's who you are. And as a president of a college like El Camino College, people forget that we're people. And so we really want to hear about your story as a first-gen college student. So as a president of a college now, you went through some academic journey. And let's talk about that a little bit. What motivated you to pursue higher education? And did you ever envision yourself in a leadership role such as college president?
Well, first, I guess let's start with what motivated me to pursue higher education. I was not originally going to go to college. I had a boyfriend, and we were in love and thought we were going to get married and start a family. And we were, both going to get jobs at McDonald's or Hobby Lobby or whatever and just, start living life. And then that ended. And I was in my senior year and had not applied to any colleges. And the night before applications were due, my history teacher said, "You've got to apply to colleges." He would ask every day who's applied to colleges, and I would never raise my hand. So on that last day, he said, "You've got to apply to colleges." He went down to the office, got the UC application, sat with me, filled it out. We wrote you had to write an essay then, and we wrote the essay that afternoon, and he paid the fee. He wrote his personal check and drove me to the post office, called my parents and said, "We're working on a college application. I will bring her home." Drove me to the post office. We applied to one college, and that was UC Berkeley. And I didn't even know anything about Berkeley at the time. But apparently he saw something in me that I couldn't even imagine. And he put that thing in the mail. I never gave it a second thought. And then I got an acceptance letter to Berkeley. So I don't know that I was motivated to go to college. I think somebody else was motivated for me to go to college. And that's how I ended up at college.
And I think that's important because a lot of times, especially us first-gen students, we don't see that in ourselves. But like you said, somebody saw that in you, and that last hour did what they could to help you get there, apply to a university like UC Berkeley, and you were there. And look where you are now. So more about that. You said your academic journey began at UC Berkeley. How did you choose that university? Because that's amazing that you just applied to the one school, and the one school that you applied to, that's the one you got into.
I didn't choose it. Mm-hmm. Mr. Hollingsworth checked that box.
Wow.
I think he might have been an alumna of Berkeley, but I think he also knew that it was one of the top tier universities in the state. And I think he knew how much it would benefit me and my family. Mm-hmm. So I really don't know why he chose Berkeley, but he did, and I'm glad that he did.
That's great.
I never visited the campus. The first time I went to the campus is when I went there for first day orientation.
Mm-hmm.
I was an enrolled student the first day I went to the campus.
Oh my gosh. What was that like?
It was overwhelming because there were lots of other students in they set you up in the little cohort in my course, and they were talking about my grandpa went here, my dad went here. And I'm like, I don't even know where I am really in the state of California. I know that I rode a bus to Oakland and then caught another bus to get to this campus, but could not talk about how my parents went there, and they, the Cal Stanford game and all of the traditions at Berkeley. Was totally alienated from that conversation and really felt out of place. And then my parents didn't understand all of the things you have to do to get a child to college. And so they were getting things from the college, but they looked like bills. And my family, was a socially, economically challenged family. So my parents would always, you set the bills on the counter until you can get around to, you have enough money to pay for them. But there were deadlines in those envelopes. And so we missed the deadline for financial aid. We missed the deadline for the lottery for dorm rooms. So I actually landed there that first day without a place to stay. We never thought that through. We just thought you go there and they're going to take care of you. And that's not quite how it works. So I actually ended up in a panic that first day, calling my mom saying, I don't have a place to sleep. We didn't do the dorm room thing. And you go to the housing office and they're like, well, we never got your paperwork. We can't help you. They don't help you solve the problem. So we ended up having to call pastors of friends of other pastors. And finally, my mom's pastor got a hold of another pastor who had a parishioner who said, we can rent her a room. And that's how I ended up living in Oakland on my first day of college.
Wow. So the next question I feel like kind of relevant, but I want to hear more about that, is how did your early academic experiences shape your perspective on higher education? But I think in your case, it might be a little bit of both your academic experiences and even just that first day experience of showing up to a campus that you've never visited before, but this is meant to be home for the next 4 years. So thinking about both your social experiences and your academic experiences, how did these shape your perspective in higher education?
I think it really weighed on me that it's not really a matter of intelligence or ability or capability, because you can be the brightest of the brightest and the smartest of the smartest. If you don't understand how to navigate the bureaucracy of higher education, you're at a disadvantage. And all of those little things add up, and they count against you in ways that you don't even realize. But you internalize all that, because I'm keeping thinking it's me. Well, we should have known that. How come I didn't know that? Obviously, I'm not smart enough to be here. I don't belong here, or this wouldn't be going the way it's going. And so it just became a burden to me to help others understand that and navigate that, because the playing field's not level, and that's not fair. And so anything that I can do to help bring that fairness back into the equation, then I think that's what influenced me. I don't know if I answered your question.
No, you did. You did. Because what you're saying is there's an academic journey that students take and go on. And at the end of the day, it's the way that they're figuring out how to get to the academics that makes a difference. And in some cases, like the hidden curriculum of the first-gen students, we don't know what that path looks like. So how do we know how to walk through something that nobody has walked before, right? So I think that definitely answers the question. And aside from those type of experiences that have now shaped your perspective on higher education, were there any particular subjects in your first 4 years of college or while at Berkeley that you were most interested, or how did you land on your bachelor's, and what major did you have?
Oh, girl. Okay. So when I went to Berkeley, I went there as an architecture major. Didn't know much about architecture, but knew that I had an interest in building and creating things. Was the only African-American student and one of the very few females in many of those classes. And none of my faculty were women at the time, and none of them were people of color. And so struggled a lot. It was architecture and pre-engineering, and trying to navigate, I was behind in financial aid, so spent a lot of time trying to get that figured out. And it was commuting back and forth to the campus. It was like, it had to be a 40-minute bus ride from East Oakland to the campus. Working, I immediately got 2 jobs on campus because I didn't have any financial aid, and the books are not free and you still have to eat. And so I was very overwhelmed and ended up that first semester on probation and didn't know to go and see help. I qualified for EOPS. I qualified for a bunch of stuff I wasn't using. Ended up on probation. The next semester, still, it was a lot. Did a little bit better, but not quite well enough. So the fall of my sophomore year, I had gotten a letter saying, this is on your second term of academic probation. If you don't clear this up, you're going to be dismissed. Fall went a little bit better, but not well enough. Because once you dig into that hole, you've got to know how to dig yourself out. And so I'm just taking 13, 14, 16 units, thinking, okay, if I do take more units, do better, then it's going to get the GPA up and I'm going to be able to get out of this mess I'm in. Mm-hmm. Didn't work that way. I was continuing to do better academically. My life was getting stable, but not well enough. And so I ended up dismissed in my sophomore year and now I realize where I'm at, the potential this has for me. People are telling my parents, oh, she's at Berkeley, she's going to be able to write her ticket and the rest of your kids, or she's going to be able to help them all go to college. So now I can't call home and say, guess what, guys? I blew this and the dream is ending for all of us. Didn't know what I was going to do. I was riding around Oakland on the 40 bus, and it stopped in front of Laney College. And I was seeing people that looked like me, get off that bus to go to this college. So I got off the bus too to go see what was going on there. There was this long line to see counselors. It came out of the building and down the stairs. I asked a few questions. They told me, you're going to have to see a counselor before you do anything. Mm-hmm. So I got in that line, waited hours. I got to the office of a counselor. She had snacks there. She said, you want something to eat? I know it's a long wait. And then I told her my whole story, and she said, okay, this is not the end of the world. Because I honestly, at that point in time, at that day, thought I had very few choices. I'm not going to disappoint my parents. I don't know that I'd be sitting here with you had I not got off that bus. She said, this is not I'm sorry.
No.
She said, this is not the end of the world. We can fix this. And she explained to me, she got out the Berkeley catalog, flipped to the back where it explains to you how, you can apply for readmission if you're dismissed and you have to do all of this stuff. And she said, we can help you with that. And she helped me enroll in Laney College. She helped me set up a schedule. She explained a balance of classes we were going to take. I ended up taking tennis because she said, you're going to need this activity class. But the important thing is you get a grade in it, take it for a grade, and that's going to help with the GPA. She helped coach me through how to get involved with study groups, how to see a counselor, apply for EOP&S, when the financial aid deadlines were, and how to get ahead of that, and how to help my parents get ahead of that. So I spent a year at Laney College, College of Alameda, and they walked me through all of the readmission processes. I applied for readmission, and you have to go through this panel when you apply for readmission to Berkeley, and you have to go to this meeting around a table with, I guess there had to be 7, 8 people in that room, and you have to convince them why they have to let you back into Berkeley. And here I was, 18, 19 years old, but she prepared me. We did mock question and answer. I went to that interview, and the odds are, it's just a protocol. But I'll be darned if they did not readmit me. And I ended up finishing Berkeley with 2 majors. So it wasn't about me. It was just about navigating that bureaucracy. And so I ended up picking sociology and social welfare as my two majors because I was so indebted with gratitude for the way that someone had helped me that I just wanted to help save other people. And sociology was teaching me all about how we as marginalized populations have disadvantages that we don't even know that we have, and ways that we can use structures and systems to help dismantle those things and to help improve lives for across the board for all of us. And social welfare was just about helping people and families find a path to a better life. And so those were my two majors. That's how I picked those two majors.
So you talked about digging, that hole for yourself, but, come to find out, there is somebody to help you get out of that. And there, in your case, it was that counseling, that you were able to get that support, that literal holding of your hand and walking you through, just similarly how your high school teacher helped you apply to Berkeley. Now you have a counselor who said, hey, we got you. You're going to be good for 1 year and you will be back, and you returned. And kind of keeping in line with that architecture major and, learning how to build things together. It sounds like with sociology, you're still building, but now you're learning about the pieces that you're having to put together to build systems. And in this case of higher education, that's amazing. And thank you for sharing that. And ultimately, you graduated from Berkeley and you still went on. You said, hey, I like this. Let me keep going. So what happened after Berkeley?
Well, it wasn't quite that easy. I finished Berkeley, started working. Was not making a lot of money, but it's my first job. I was working at a group home. I was enjoying it, but began to quickly realize that in social welfare, if you don't have a master's, it's really hard to have a career path. And enjoyed my work at the group home, learned a lot about working with particularly adolescents who have psychosocial behavioral issues, and knew that I loved that work, particularly in working with their families, and knew that I needed to go back to school to get a master's degree. So started looking around at programs, and now I know a little bit about college and how the whole higher education rankings and tiers and systems worked, and knew that I could do college because now I graduated from Berkeley. So I know that I can do this. So of course I wanted to go to the top social work program in the country, and that was USC. So I applied to USC for a master's degree in social work, and that's where I went for my graduate work.
That's awesome. And at that point, did you already know that you were going to go back and work in higher education somehow?
I did not. Okay. I thought I was going to get my MSW and become a clinical social worker and work as a clinician, helping children and families for a number of years. And then I knew that I also wanted, because of the sociology, to play some role in some of the larger bureaucratic systems that we have, and knew that at some point I might want to be in administration in CPS or county social services or something. So I got 2 masters, one in public administration and one in social work. I mean, this is, again, started from somebody who Berkeley told, you really don't belong in higher ed. You need to find something else to do because you're not smart enough to be here. But it's not the academics. It's once you can get the other stuff figured out, the academics are easy. You find study partners, you find study groups, you go to office hours, you can get through the classes. And so I got 2 master's degrees from USC and entered the career of social work. I started out as a CPS, child welfare worker. Really enjoyed that, working with families, reunification. Then we moved. My husband got a transfer, so we moved and put in for 2 positions, one at the county office and one at prison, because I was also intrigued about working with adults who, and now because of my background in sociology, understood how incarceration is not necessarily fair or a level playing field, and with disadvantages that some groups bring into the criminal justice system, how there can be some bias there, and thought that might be another interesting way and to give back And I have people in my own family that had been incarcerated, and thought that that might be an area where I could help, particularly as a clinician, and understanding mental health and well-being and how important all of those pieces are, and how some of our communities don't benefit from having those aspects of our lives emphasized. So the first call I got was from the prison, and went to work at the prison and enjoyed that work tremendously, learned a lot. Truly enjoyed that work. But we started to start a family, my husband and I, and the more I realized I was not able to be as maybe as objective as I should be now that I was going to have my own child, and started to feel like, well, I was working on preparing parole cases for parole hearings, and wanted to be as objective as I could be for the person sitting in front of me. And when you start to get conflicted about that, then you need to step away from that work. So decided I needed to find something else to do. And there was an announcement for a TRIO director at a community college. I didn't know anything about TRIO, but I knew I loved community college because it saved my life, and thought, how fun would that be to be able to go and do social work at a community college. And TRIO, it talked about families and helping the families understand higher ed. And I thought, this is my dream job. So I applied for the job as a TRIO director, and that is how I got started in higher ed.
And that was my next question, actually. And so you just answered it, which is, at what point in your academic or professional career did you decide to pursue leadership in higher ed? And it was really that start with the TRIO program. But you still continued your education because you really enjoyed learning. So you kept going. And so now, with thinking about the additional degrees that you went on to earn, tell us how that prepared you to where you are today.
Well, there's more to that story too. I love TRIO. Never thought I would leave TRIO. My husband got another promotion, so we had to move again. We moved to Sacramento, and I started work at community college district there. But I was working in transfer and articulation at the district office, underneath the chancellor and the vice chancellor, which exposed me to a whole nother world. And again, people saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, and kept pushing me to take on roles in the district that I would have never thought to take on. I didn't think I was prepared to do that work. I always tell people, Bryce Harris assigned me to do some things he didn't have any business assigning me to do, because I didn't think I had the qualifications to do that work. Ended up working on a campus, and had presidents and vice presidents that continued to ask me to serve in different interim roles. Got elected to be department chair, which I had never expected to do. So I didn't think of myself as a leader. Other people saw me as a leader, and I just liked helping the people around me as I took on those roles and working with people to help make it all better for all of us. So I don't know if today, if you ask me, am I a leader? I don't know that I could look you in the eye and say, yes, I'm a leader. And some of that's imposter syndrome, I know, but let's be real, that happens. And it continues to happen to us, some of us, for, all of our lives.
Absolutely.
So I don't know that I ever aspired to be a leader. I think leadership found me. My kind of leadership found places where I could be helpful.
Yeah, it sounds like all you really wanted to do was help other people.
Yes.
And it just so happens that along the way, the different positions that you've held, and like you said, what people saw in you led you to where you are today, now President Dr. Brenda Thames. We didn't talk about those degrees, but there's additional degrees there. But now to close it up, thinking about people who are thinking about applying to college, like El Camino College, and I know you just said, I don't know about this, or are aspiring leaders, just thinking about advice to students or aspiring leaders about navigating their academic journeys and applying to El Camino, what advice would you like to give them?
You can do this. because we're here to help you. And you're not going to have to do it alone. And that makes the world of difference when you start out knowing that you have a team with you and behind you. Doesn't mean you're going to be successful at every single thing you try. But as long as we are here, we're going to do everything we can to help you not fail. At least when you do fail, to get back up and keep trying until we get to where you want to be. And that makes the world of difference. That makes everything possible.
Absolutely. I feel like I could just go on and ask you so many other questions. But I really wanted to invite you here and take some time to hear about your academic journey. And a theme that I noticed throughout is what others saw in you. And so I just want to let you know that one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you here is because although we all see, who you are as a leader, somebody might see themselves in you. You are President Brenda Thames. You are the first Black female president here at El Camino College. You went to UC Berkeley, top public university. You went to USC, got your master's in social work. You went on, you got your doctorate degree. And along the way, you made these different decisions and choices, but also with the help of others. And so I wanted listeners and viewers to hear and see that it may have been academic dismissal at one point, but you get to where you want to be, and where you want to be is helping others, and you're doing that in your current role. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you.